Hey young man, it's Jerica, and we got Kev Pot at the Ink Pots. We're at the Ink Pots in Banff. It's super pretty. And Kev Pot and I just want to say, hey, we miss you guys. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, so like Jerica said, Kev Pot at the Ink Pots. Pretty dope site. It's pretty dank memes up here. Check it out. Get some of those mountains in the background. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about protection. So you guys have been rock climbing probably. So you had a rope and you had a harness and you hooked your rope into something, either chains or bolts along the way or something like that. So you had some sort of protection, something to hold you in case you did fall. So on Denali, for the most part, you don't use protection, you're just hiking. You're tied to each other, but you don't have any, if you both fall, there's not much holding you, except for the fact that it's really not that steep, so you'd be okay. There's a couple of sections that get steeper, and in those, so the first one's called the head wall. It's going between Camp 4 and Camp 5. It gets pretty steep, not super steep, but I want to say they say it's like 40 degrees, so not crazy steep, but steep enough that if you fell, you'd slide for a long ways. And at that site, they have fixed ropes. So ropes that are always in the snow, that the Park Service has maintained, and you clip into those. So you hook your harness into them, so that if you fall while you're going up that, you're not going to fall very far. Then once you get above that, they have some spots where they just have an anchor. It's basically some sort of pick or stake that they've jammed down into the snow with a cord and a carabiner on it that you can clip your rope into. So if the first guy goes through, clips behind him, and then when the second guy comes through, he unclips, and if there's a third guy, he clips behind him. So you're all hooked into that point as you go through. So on our summit day, when we were coming off, so we'd already summited, we were on our way back down, my buddy was leading, and he so there was kind of a defined path. There was a way that you were kind of supposed to go. He wanted to take a shortcut. It seemed like an easier trail. So he kind of went off trail on a bit of a steep spot and lost his footing and went down and slid. And as soon as he fell down, that pulled me down, so we were both sliding. And thankfully, we were hooked into two pieces of protection. Again, it wasn't a super high consequential spot. For the most part, it was steep where we were and then kind of ran out at the bottom, so it wasn't like we were gonna fall off a cliff. There were crevasses, so that would have been scary, that you're kind of going uncontrolled and you might fall into a big old crack. But when he fell and I got pulled down, the thing you're supposed to do is self-arrest. So you're supposed to get out your ice axe, flip over on your stomach, dig your axe into the snow and stop yourself. He didn't really do that. And I was falling, and I realized, I said, hey, we're clipped into two pieces. Those are solid pieces. I know we're not going anywhere. So my only concern really was, am I gonna get sucked? You know, my harness is around my waist. Is my waist gonna get sucked into those? And luckily I swung down and we had enough friction that my weight above the fulcrum slowed us down. And we stopped and we were okay. Actually, he lost his GPS and we had to go get it, because it was tracking our, just our movements and where we were. And he was afraid that, our friends and family that were watching us were gonna think we were stuck on the mountain, because if we left it, it would just say, oh, they're not moving, they're stuck up high, they're not responding. It also allowed us to send text messages, so if they're not sending text, they're stuck, something's gone wrong, they're in trouble. So we went and got it just so people would be calm. So anyway, protection. Those fixed ropes, those set pieces, they're super helpful if you take a fall to know, hey, there's something that's got me. So, what is the protection? As you're going along your climb in life, you're trying to avoid falling down, avoid getting swept off, avoid getting into trouble. What are those protection points? What are the ropes that you can clip into, the pieces you can clip into? I know we've talked about this before, but I would go back to the scriptures. Those answers, you got your For the Strength of the Youth pamphlet. It talks about music standards, dress standards, interactions with people of the opposite sex standards, church, grooming, all of that. I think those are protection points that if you clip into, if you maintain those things, it's going to be Those are going to help you out of a lot of jams. You're going to fall, and if you've adhered to those, if you're holding on to those protection points, it's going to catch you before you go too far. So that's it. Thanks, dudes.